in the garage. I am taking a break from sanding because I need to work on the daily. And my daily, the steering wheel over time, has just gotten more and more crooked. I'll show you in a second, but I think there's an issue in the front end. It's always been clunking, but I also just started to hear what I thought was a wheel bearing, so I got new wheel bearings. I've got new front control arm bushings, lower control arm rear. I know, it sounds weird. Sway bar end links, and new ball joint and tie rod ends. And they said this is like a bump steer, maybe, or something correction. Roll center correction. And while maintaining original bump steer. Yep. So I'm going to be throwing this stuff on, and hopefully I can get it done before my kid wakes up from her nap. Those two don't get to see the sun too much, so it's good for them. Alright, and you'll see how the steering wheel has to look for me to go straight. Got a nice little rear view camera there. And 2003, it's ahead of its time. Alright, now watch me going straight here. That's straight. Don't like that. So something's wrong. And the steering wheel was straight, and it has just moved over time. And like I said, there's that, I have a clunk in the front end. So let's find out what is going on. You know something's bad when, so this is my passenger front wheel. And then that's my driver wheel. The driver wheel almost looks like it has like, we'll call it a very tiny bit of negative camber. This looks way more, and this one looks like turned in. And when I put my hand under, this side looks lower. Oh, Jesus. I almost ripped my fingers off. So that side looks lower than this side, you know, the old finger test. So something's going on. Wasn't like this before. Let's get it in the air and see if we can find out what's wrong. And then on top of even the visual, you can see it with your own eye. You can tell that there's abnormal tire wear, right? See that? It's almost completely worn down. And over here, there's still plenty of tread left. Yeah, unfortunately, it ruined. And then on this side, it's the outside of the tire wearing right here, where the inside is fine. So these got some funky wear going on them. So something's up. Car's in the air. First thing I notice on the car, so I'm looking at the lower control arm because I've got this new rear bushing. I've got that new ball joint, and I'm getting new tie rod ends, and I have new sway bar end links, because most commonly when you hear a noise in the front end, at least for me, it was worn out sway bar end links. And I got new ones of them. These are actually new. It didn't fix my issue, but I got the cheapest ones possible at the time. But the first thing I do notice compared to right and left is this. There's like a bushing here that doesn't look like the same bushing over here. It actually looks like it's kind of worn out. Or maybe it's a stock bushing. Hard to really say. until I get them off. Maybe that's my noise? I don't know. And it's really hard to replicate the noise when the car's up in the air. I can't move the suspension enough. But I'm gonna pop these off and go from there. All right, front lower control arms are off, and what looks to me like this bushing is shot. Sounds crunchy, so I'm glad I got new ones of those. But this one was on my driver's side. I didn't hear any noise from there except the wheel bearing. This one's pretty good, but this one also had this bushing that turns out these are just like donuts that go on the end, and they were just missing. So I really don't think that could have been the noise. Not positive. And these bushings are surprisingly very loose in the rear. Seem pretty intact. I don't see any rips. All right, same with this one, pretty loose. Don't see any rips. But we got new ones, so, and this looks like it's been welded, but I think it's just grease or dirt. Might be a ripped axle boot now that I'm looking at it. Let me check it out. No, that axle boot seems pretty good. Maybe previously a ripped axle boot, because that axle looks, at least that boot looks really new. Same with that one. Lovely. This side, not so bad. These bolts were harder to get out than the other side. Why? I don't know. That axle's seen better days. All right, and I'm gonna just do both wheel bearings, so time to pull that stuff apart. All right, so the knuckles or spindles are out. This is my passenger side, and this is how this side sounds. There's like a slight drag sound, almost like it's rubbing on something. And then this was my driver's side, which is what I originally thought my problem was. Well, it certainly, there's a noise here. And by far the worst part of this is getting your ABS sensors out. Failed here. So that's gonna get destroyed. So I'll have to get a new one of that. Right here. This is the other end. And it plugs up through here somewhere. Unexpected purchase. But this side came out okay. And I mean, it just like chewed it up, but it still didn't seem to hurt it. You know, it's just cosmetic to me. You know, still good, still usable. Hammer around it enough. The hub comes out nice and rusty. Actually, these weren't honestly too bad to get out. I am going to knock as much rust off of them as I can. I'm going to probably put them in the sandblaster, clean them up, maybe give them a little coat of paint. But let's get these new ones out and compare. I mean, you can't even compare. These are so noisy, even though it's the slightest noise. To no, there is zero noise in these. These, you can hear it. This, nothing. All right, I'm glad I did these. Now to clean those up and those. Finally got the ABS sensor out, and if you're ever wondering what the inside of an ABS sensor looks like, it's this. You get some plastic housing. You got a push rod piston looking thing wrapped up in, oh man, I should recycle that, copper. And these magnets came out of it too. Boy, I figured they'd be useful on the wall. Okay. One of them's a magnet and the other one's just a spacer. So, yep. Off to the sandblaster. And just for comparison's sake, this is one of the spindles or knuckles, not sandblasted yet. And this is one that has been sandblasted. Not, yes. Which honestly it needs a little more in there, taken out, because it's still pretty gunked up, but it looks great. Sandblasting takes forever, at least in my cabinet, so I'm going to try power washing the lower control arms and see what that does to them. Takes a layer off. Not exactly as clean as I wanted, but maybe this and then the blast cabinet. Power washing did okay. Still have to go into the blast cabinet, but I decided to take the ball joint out. So you take your cap off here. Little screwdriver will do the trick, and then there's this little clip here holding it in. Woo! You expand it and it shoots off. Purse. See if I can get it off with that. It's stupid if it works. And what I got going on here is I'm pushing out this ball joint, and instead of the correct tool, I'm making use of a hole saw bit that is just big enough. I'll get the size later once I can actually see. Let's see if I can go from, take a little back shot here. I don't even know what size that is. But that, and I have a socket just the size of that ball joint, and so yeah, I mean, it's pushing it out. Check it out. Yeah, very cool. Made it work. So if you got a 2 1/8 hole saw and 1 1/8 socket, so that socket pushed it through, it fits right on the edge of that ball joint. And I was able to push it through, and then this sits perfectly right around the edge of that. Yeah, this machine does a good job. And now I'm going to sandblast this lower control arm finally. Oh yeah, right off. That was like paint or something. Alright, and then to press in this new ball joint, to press this in from Whiteline, I used a die from this kit. This one, right over top. And you actually don't even need anything on top. And I use my press over there. And I also just spaced it with another big socket. But it will fit and not bottom out with just this die to pull it up or through. There's a lot of activity here today. And then, all right, I need 2 hands for this. All right, so I got these like offset bushings. Is this supposed to help with turn in? We'll see, but they're offset, right? So you'd figure they go in a certain orientation. And since I have my control arm oriented this way, I'll put the sheet this way. And it looks like it goes in like this. What's up, baby girl? You can't reach the rope? No. All right, I'll get it for you. I'll be right back. All right, back at it. So orient like that. It looks like the offset is closer to this side of it. And that's what I got here. That, and along with this imaginary line going to this other mount point. So that's about where I got. And I'm just going to put a mark there and there just so I don't have to do this again. And then I'm going to throw it in the press. I think these bushings are kind of beat anyway, so I'm glad I'm replacing them, but check out how much these move. A lot. Now watch how much these move. Not at all. I can't move these at all. And you'll see there's a beveled edge right here. That's the side I'm going to be pressing into the control arm. So that's what goes in. And I put a mark on it. So I'll just line it up, and when I'm pressing it, that'll make sure that it's going in the way it should. All right, just drawing a line. All right, got it. All right, now that I got this in the press, I'm realizing that I am pressing it up from the bottom, but I don't think that matters. I put the beveled edge facing the way it's going in. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's an issue. And if it is, oh well. All right, finally, this one took me way too long, but I finally figured it out. I'm using this. This is just like an empty cylinder. I got a 24 millimeter socket pressing this bushing out. Based on the curve of this control arm, it's really hard to get it using anything else. But this is what I found to get these out. Again, I'm using a piece from this kit along with a 24 millimeter impact socket, specifically this brand, Cobalt brand, and it's pushing it right out. If you're doing these yourself, I suggest doing this one first, because I found this one to be the hardest. Come on, I want to hear that release. Oh, there it is. You see it move? Pretty sure it's out. Let's see it fall apart. Yep, it's out. And the funniest part about taking that one out is that's the only one that I don't have. I ordered it over a week ago. It hasn't shipped yet. So this isn't getting finished today. So wait for it to come in. Hopefully it's much easier to put in than take out, but I figured it out. So it's out. A good feeling of accomplishment. I'm going to clean that up in there and do the other side. Wrap it up for today because obviously a lot more work to do there, but I don't have these bushings. So waiting on those to be delivered. So the Eva's gonna sit on the lift, and I got an injury. I just cleaned it out, but that cut is going to hurt later. And while it was up in the air, I changed the oil. Because why not? Probably needed it. So knuckles waiting to go in. Waiting on this bushing. And once I get the bushing, I'll put the control arm in first. Then I'll put that on, because I don't want that just hanging on the strut. I feel like that's not good. But yep, there it goes. All right. Until next time.